Hey everyone, today we are in the shop. We're working on this customer's Bronco. It's in for a full rust work and sheet metal work. A lot of sheet metal is getting cut out of this thing and replaced. So I kind of wanted to show how I put on panels. In my line of work, high-end restorations, you need to have things look like you were never in there. So I need to create a factory looking spot weld. So today I want to show how to do that with a TIG welder, some self-tapping screws, grinders, some hammers, but pretty straightforward tool. All right, so this is what I'm talking about. I want to show you an example of a factory spot weld, and I want to show you an example of what we're going to create. Also, I kind of want to go over like panel prep, how I like to finish my panels before they go on, and kind of the reasons why. On the subject of panel finishing, you want to put something on there. You don't want these panels to just rust out from the inside out and then you have to do it again. So what I like to do is I like to put a little primer and paint in there just to seal off any moisture from getting to that metal and rusting. A lot of these panels, they have like an eco primer, or they've got like a weld through primer, usually on the panel, so you don't really have to worry about it, but I like to go that little extra step. So what I do is I go and I scuff up all of that e-coat or weld through primer, whatever, with like 320, something like that, not too aggressive. And then what I'll do, go and I will put some rattle can primer in there, just something to kind of mechanically bond to those scratches. And then I'll let that dry for, I don't know, 5-10 minutes, whatever. And I'll go right over that with just a Rust-Oleum white paint. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It just has to be something that creates a barrier between between the metal and water. So you don't have to go break the bank on it. Just create that barrier. Another thing to kind of pay attention to is I ground off all of the weld through primer around where each spot weld is going to be, so that I know that the metal is clean and it won't create any contamination in the spot weld. It just creates this little bubble right in the middle of it, and you got to go grind it out and weld it over again. So to save time, keep it clean. After this is welded, there is going to be a bit of bare metal around that hole. It's just inevitable. It will burn back, and you're crazy to think that you can put some fancy product on there to make it from not happening. It's going to happen. Molten metal will burn through everything. So you want to just keep this as local as possible, but have it coated. I wanted to show what I was talking about here with the paint burning. I had to fill up a few holes that weren't necessary. I wanted to do that before I put them welded it onto the truck. So here's what I'm talking about here. See how that paint will start to burn back? Now, I'm good in this instance because I stopped. But if I were to go any further up with the white paint, or I had put any more heat into it, this would start bubbling right around that heat affected zone. And that's what we don't want at all. So that's what I was talking about. So we got the rocker all put on. I got to put it on with just the sheet metal screws right in here. And I want to make sure nothing moved on me. I haven't really done too much to it. I did do a little bit of adjusting, but let's see here. Nice and straight. Top looks pretty good. Gap looks real good. Time to weld. This is like a super simple little trick or thing that it probably doesn't matter too much, but I think it matters. When you get your TIG wire, it's like 3 feet long. So when you're welding, the other end's out there flopping around, just making it hard to keep steady. So cut it in half. Get it to a lot more manageable of a size, but just have like a couple on hand ready to go. Also, another little cool thing is you got your welding gloves on. It's sometimes really hard to pick up your welding rod. So what you do is you put a little end on it like that, and then what you can do is you can roll it and then pick it up. It's a nice little trick. Heather taught me that one. Time to weld. So it's pretty kind of self-explanatory a little bit. Just weld up the holes. But I drew a picture, so I'll explain it. So I got all these little guys that I got to weld up. It's super crucial that the panel is welded together. A lot of times what I've seen and I've had happen is you fill the hole, but it doesn't go to the backside. The sheet metal kind of warps ever so slightly away, and then you just end up filling the outside piece and not fusing it. So the first thing I like to do when I go and start these things, before I try to add any filler or anything, is I make sure I fuse the two panels together. Then I'll add some filler rod, which will fill the hole, and then I just put a puddle over the whole hole, and everything just kind of falls in together and kind of sinks down in like that factory weld we want. It works really well. So this is what I kind of want to do. So imagine this is your hole and you've got your two panels in there. What I'm going to want to do is just basically lay my torch like just above this outer layer and just punch the pedal. I got it set up to where it's pretty hot, especially for sheet metal. So you just punch it and let off and it'll fuse it together. Then you know you're fused, then you can fill the hole and get everything to flow together. So I'll show what I'm talking about. I'll do one and I'll show you. Okay, we got one welded in. Let me see if I can flip this to show you. Note, I've got these clamps here, like I was saying how they did them for the factory. They got to clamp it together and then weld it. So this is us clamping it together. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll take a hammer and I'll just make sure that the hole on both pieces of sheet metal real tight together, and then I'll tack it. So let's see, we can zoom in there. So see how that just got fusion together? So now when I go and I drop in a piece of filler rod and just punch the pedal, it will just all fuse together, close the hole, and it'll look really nice. I guess also it kind of makes sense to talk about my welding equipment. I've had this thing for, I was 19 I think when I bought my TIG welder, but it's just a kind of a factory torch with some of Mike Furyk's cups. Now I will say this is probably way overkill for size of what I actually need, but I broke my 12s, so I gotta get some more. But for now it works. You just use a little more argon flow to make sure that the weld's covered adequately enough. But the thing is, also, doing the sheet metal, especially just the fusing them, it really doesn't take long. You punch it. Of course, you need the argon, but as far as like post flow, you don't need 15 seconds of post flow. You need like 2 seconds. Like it cools down so fast. Let's see what else is set up. I got 100 amps going. I could even go to 120 just to make it quick. This is purely for the quick fusion of it. And yeah, like I said, that post flow is way down. And my argon level, let's see. Looks like we're at like 40 or so. So that's what we're playing with. Okay, so now that it's time to actually close the hole, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna basically take my filler rod, I'm gonna hold it basically right over the hole, and I'm gonna then basically create a molten ball on the end of the filler rod. I'm gonna get it about the size of the hole, and then I'm just gonna set it in the hole and punch the pedal, and it'll flow right in, and it'll almost take only what it needs and nothing more. And that's ideal anyways. And closes the hole, welds everything up, and sits nice and flush. That's what I'm going for. Okay, let's see how that worked. See, let's turn this up. So, see, they sunk down in pretty decent, but I'm gonna have to hit them with a grinder and kind of just see how they look. I think what I'm gonna have to end up doing, and it's pretty common to do for me, is I'll take this kind of ball end carbide bit and I'll just kind of grind out the middle of this to kind of get the size I want, and then I'll go back in and I'll just hit it with the torch one more time and just reflow it in, and it really makes it look really good. But one thing to know is when you get everything molten, you want to come off the pedal really slow and just maybe work that puddle to the very edge of it, and then you won't have a little like shrink spot in the middle, which you might even be able to, yeah, see how right in the middle there, everything shrunk right into that as it cooled. So we don't really want that because, well, that doesn't look factory. Okay, so I did 2 welds, and I wanted to show you the one that is just with the grinder, and then I did go over one with the carbide bit, and I want to show you kind of what it looks like. So these guys right here, this one just hit the grinder. It's not uniform. It basically, there was too much filler rod, and that's why there's excess metal. So we don't want that. So what you simply do is you just take that ball end carbide bit and you just hollow out, grind out a little nice circle hole, and then you go back in with the welder and you just flow the surface of that weld. You don't even have to get the whole thing molten, but just the surface of it, and it sinks right down in there nicely and is nice and round. That'll work just good. Also, like, it's gonna get primed and painted, and that primer and paint will sink into that weld, and any little imperfections, it's not gonna be seen. It kind of hides it. And honestly, these factories, they're not perfect. They're not straight. So it gives them a little character. All right, we're all welded up. Let's check these things out. There they are. Not bad. Not bad at all. So I did have to go back in on a lot of them and grind them out and re-weld them. That's okay, as long as in the end it's a strong weld and it looks the way we want it. That's what we're after. So it kind of takes a little bit of OCD to make this look good, but I want the best product I can bring out. You might also ask, hey, what does the backside look like? This is what the backside looks like. Nice and welded and kind of the same thing. So it'll look good on both sides. I didn't have to do anything to the back, so it's just kind of how it ended up. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. So until next time, like and subscribe. Thanks. Have a good one.